we continue with Geronimo Stilton, Paws Off, Cheddarface, Part 3. A holeless mouse. I went back home. When I tried to open the door, the key couldn't fit. Someone had changed the lock. I couldn't believe it. How could this be happening to me? I was a good mouse. I never bothered anyone. I went to work. I paid my taxes. I volunteered down at the holeless shelter. Holy cheese. Now I was a holeless mouse. I guess it's true what they say. It could happen to anyone. One by one, I called all of my closest friends. Unfortunately, Thea had already warned them about me. They all slammed the phone in my ear. They thought I was him. I mean, the fake Geronimo Stilton. I called my cousin Trap. I got his obnoxious answering machine. "Squeak your name and number, and if you're lucky, I'll get back to you," it said. How typical. My cousin really was one disturbed mouse. Last of all, I tried to call my favorite nephew, Benjamin. He's only 9 years old. He was in school, but the principal said I was not allowed to squeak with him. Rancid rat hairs. My sister must have warned him, too. I decided there was only one thing left to do. I hid outside my hole. Then I waited for the fake Geronimo Stilton to show up. Finally, I saw a yellow car approaching. That rotten mouse was driving my car. He jumped out and checked my mailbox. Then he pulled my keys out of his pocket. What a rat! I jumped out just as he opened the door. "Paws off, Cheddarface!" I shrieked. "Paws off my home, my office, my family, my friends." I was furious. I was enraged. I was staring at my own front door. "Poisonous cheese puffs!" I screamed. That sneaky fake had slipped by me again. He had already slammed the door in my snout. I didn't know what to make of it. Unbelievable. Feeling cold and discouraged, I wandered the streets of New Mouse City. Oh, how I missed my cheese-filled fridge. Oh, how I missed my great Aunt Ratsy's cozy comforter. Oh, how I missed my life. So long, Stilton. After 10 years, the sun came up. Well, okay, maybe it was only 10 hours. Still, it felt like I'd been sulking in the dark forever. The city was slowly waking up. Rodents rushed by on their way to work. Taxis raced down the street. Everyone was going somewhere, doing something. I sighed, feeling very sad. I had no home. I had no work. I had no family, no friends. I was like a smelly sewer rat in a big party. No one wanted to dance with me. I was an outcast in my own town. I stuck my paw in my pocket. I found some cheese. Cheesecake! At least I wasn't totally broke. I could buy myself a newspaper. I loved reading the news. Well, when I got to the newsstand, I nearly fainted. The front page on every newspaper was the same. The headlines read, "So long, Stilton. Hello, Sally." I picked up the paper with shaking paws. Then I began to read. The article said that I had signed a secret agreement with Sally Ratmousin. Sally was now the owner of my paper, the Rodents Gazette. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was all so crazy. It seemed Sally had bought my paper for next to nothing. Mice everywhere were shocked, especially all the mice at the Rodents Gazette. Sally had fired them all. She had even fired my sister. How rude, how low, how evil. The Rodents Gazette is mine, 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 Sally had said when the deal was done. By now, steam was pouring out of my ears. I was so angry I couldn't even squeak. So this was what Sally was up to all along. She had hired that fake Geronimo just to get her paws on my paper. Now everyone thought I had sold my priceless Rodents Gazette. I chewed my whiskers deep in thought. I had to come up with a plan. I had to get my paper back. I had to let Sally know the S in Stilton doesn't stand for simpleton. Aunt Stitchy's birthday present. I ran to my office building. When I got there, I saw the most horrifying sight. My beloved Rodents Gazette sign was stuffed in a trash can. A humongous news sign was hanging in its place. It read, "The Daily Rat." I called my sister right away. "Thea, it's me," I squeaked. She snorted. "Which me? The real one or the fake one?" "Thea, it's really me. I'm your brother, Geronimo Stilton," she snorted. "Not so fast, Furface," she said. "First, you'll have to take my test. If it's really you, you know the right answers." "Okay, I'm ready," I declared. "Will I need a number 2 pencil?" "No, you nincompoop," Thea shrieked in my ear. "It's not that kind of test." Then she asked me if I remembered what my Aunt Stitchy had given me on my 5th birthday. I chuckled. Aunt Stitchy loved to knit. On my 5th birthday, Aunt Stitchy knit me the most hideous yellow hat. "Remember, it had ears like a cat," I told Thea. I looked ridiculous in the thing. Cheese-scented bath salts. Thea gave a sigh of relief. "It really is you," she cried. At last I was getting somewhere. At last someone believed I was me. I mean, the real me, Geronimo Stilton. I told Thea how I had spent the night outside. I was tired and hungry. Plus, I really needed to take a bath. My fur was sticking up all over the place. How embarrassing. Thea invited me over. I was at her door in a few minutes. My sister's house looks like a mausoleum. All the walls are painted different colors. Cherry red, strawberry pink, apple green, lemon yellow. It has a super high ceiling and 4 indoor balconies. Yes, that's right, indoor balconies. Each balcony is made out of solid glass. When you stand on them, you feel like you're floating. Thea's friends love them, but not me. I get too dizzy. I'm afraid of heights. In the center of her living room stands this tall tropical plant. I don't mean tall like Dribblefur, the famous basketball rat. I mean tall like New Mouse City's tallest skyscraper. Forget the watering can. Thea has to water that thing with a jumbo garden hose. Besides plants, my sister loves artwork. Her walls are covered with paintings. Thea loves modern artwork. She has a picture of a mouse with 2 heads and one of a tiny cat stuck in a mousetrap. They're all sort of weird if you ask me. I guess I'm more of a traditional mouse. I like my rodents with just 1 head. And I don't really like looking at mousetraps. I'd rather look at pictures of cheese. Speaking of cheese, Thea had a cheesy surprise for me. She had filled the bathtub with some of her most expensive cheddar-scented bath salts. I was in mouse heaven. Cheesecakes I love. the smell of cheddar. I put on the yellow sweatsuit that Thea had laid out for me. Then I went into the kitchen. Thea was making me breakfast. Pretty incredible for my sister. She can cook, but she'd rather not. Her drawers are filled with every takeout menu in the city. I was feeling pretty special. Thea can be really nice when she wants to. Too bad she never wants to. I am so sorry, Geronimo. Thea made a delicious meal, scrambled eggs, cheese, bacon, and toast. She even whipped up a mozzarella-flavored milkshake. A whisker-licking good treat. I ate like a prison mouse home for the holidays. I was like a machine on high speed. When I was done, I licked my plate. Then I wiped my snout with a napkin. You have no idea what I've been through, I told my sister. I slept on a park bench in the bitter cold. Okay, maybe I was laying it on a bit thick, but I did have a horrible night. An owl had kept me up past midnight, and my favorite green suit was now terribly wrinkled, and I had just had it dry cleaned. Thea listened to my story. When I finished, there were tears in her eyes. I'm really sorry, Geronimo, she sniffed. I should never have slammed the door in your snout, but that mouse was so believable. He was just like you. He walked like you, he talked like you. He even nibbled his whiskers when he got nervous like you. He was just like you. Dearest Uncle Geronimo, I put my paw around my sister. It's okay, I told her. I'm just glad you believe me now. Right then, my young nephew Benjamin burst through the door. He ran toward me. Then he gave me a big hug. Uncle Geronimo! Aunt Thea told me that a wicked mouse tried to trick us. He tried to take your place, he cried. But no one could ever take your place, Uncle Geronimo. You're the best uncle ever. I grinned. Thanks, my dear Benjamin. You are the best nephew ever. Minutes later, the doorbell rang. This time, it was my cousin Trap. Do you know him? Trap loves to tell awful jokes, and he loves to play pranks on me. Still, he is a relative, and he does have a soft side, sometimes. Of course, today, Trap was as obnoxious as always. He strolled into Thea's house as if he owned it. He was stuffing his face. Oh, yes, one other thing you should know about my cousin. He loves to eat. Anything, anytime. Anywhere. This time, it was chocolate cheesy chews. He popped one after another into his mouth. Then he wiped his sticky paws on my sister's fancy designer pillows. Heard about your double trouble, Trap, squeaked. Don't worry, Cousin Kins. That look-alike mouse didn't fool me. I always recognize you. How can I forget that stench? I rolled my eyes. Did I mention my cousin can be extremely irritating? Normally, I would have been furious, but I was so happy to be with my family again that I decided just to let it go. I need your help, I told my family. We have to get the Rodents Gazette back. We have to come up with some kind of scheme, some kind of strategy. Trap nodded in agreement. Yes, that's right. We need some kind of cream, some kind of sight to see. Now, it was Thea's turn to roll her eyes. It's scheme and strategy, Trap, she corrected him. Whatever, he said, waving his paw in the air. Hey, I have an idea. We wait for this fake Geronimo to show up, then we punch his lights out. Thea rolled her eyes. No violence, Trap, she scolded. It's uncivilized. Trap scratched his head. It's one shoe size, he muttered. Who's talking about shoes? I know you love shopping for shoes, but we're trying to help Geronimo now. Really, Thea, get with the program. With that, my sister began screaming at Trap. They chased each other around the house. Those two are like mold and cheese. They just don't get along. I watched the two of them fighting. Meanwhile, I was in deep thought. I was so angry with Sally Ratmousin and her fake Geronimo. I still could not believe my look-alike had fooled everyone, even my family. What scoundrel, I muttered. That mouse practically cloned me. All of a sudden, Benjamin jumped up. I got it, Uncle, he squeaked. Let's use Sally Ratmousin's trick. All we have to do is find a mouse that looks just like her. Do I have a pimple on my snout? It was a great idea. We would get back at Sally using her own trick. But where would we find a mouse who looked like Sally? Just then I noticed that Thea was staring strangely at Trap. She looked him up and down. Same height, same weight, she mumbled. We can bleach his fur, we can do the nails, add some fake eyelashes and makeup. I stared at my sister. Was she right? Could Trap really play the part of Sally Ratmousin? Well, he definitely could do the obnoxious part. Still, it all seemed so crazy, so wild, so nutty, and so unbelievably brilliant. Yeah, I decided it was such a ridiculous idea, it just might work. I winked at my sister. Benjamin grinned. We all slapped paws. Let's do it, we cried. Of course, Trap was the last to catch on. What's going on? He squeaked. Why are you all staring at me? Is my fur messy? Are my whiskers twisted? Do I have a pimple on my snout? Thea giggled. No time to explain, Couskins, she said. Then she pushed him out the door. Timothy T. Tidytail. We dragged Trap to Thea's beauty salon, Fur for Life. A sign in the window read, "We do more than just fix fur. We fix the whole mouse." We were welcomed by Timothy T. Tidytail. Tidytails clapped his paws together when he saw Thea. "Oh, Miss Stilton, how nice to see you," he gushed. "You look absolutely fabulous, darling." Thea smoothed her fur and felt flattered. She'd been coming to Fur for Life for years. They did her fur. They did her nails. Once, they even did her laundry. Thea was one of Tidytail's best customers. Today, she grabbed his paw. "I need your help, Timothy," she squeaked. Tidytail smiled. "Of course, Miss Stilton. What do we need done today? A manicure? A massage? An American cheese omelet on to go?" "It's not for me, Timmy," Thea murmured. "It's for my cousin here." In a low whisper, Thea explained the whole story to Tidytail. He nodded, staring at Trap. 5 minutes later, my cousin was being dragged over to one of the salon's workstations. By now, he was kicking and squeaking, but Tidytail was all business. "We have an emergency here," he shrieked to his staff. "This customer needs a complete makeover, and I mean makeover. We start with an exfoliating swish scrub, then a moisturizing mozzarella cream, and finally a shredded cheddar mud mask." 2 hours later, Trap was finished with phase 1 of his makeover. I must say, his snout was glowing. Of course, by now, he had finally figured out what was going on. He looked like he wanted to escape any way he could, but he didn't have a chance. Not with Tidytail around. That mouse was a regular furball of energy. He raced over to Trap and shoved him into a pink padded chair. Then he began combing through Trap's fur. "What a mess," he declared. "So many split ends, so many fleas." Trap didn't say a word. His face was fixed in a permanent scowl. "First of all, you'll need a super strength flea rinse," Tidytail advised. "Then a nourishing cream cheese conditioning treatment. And we'll put in some curls. Then, of course, we'll need to change this drab color. Miss Rasmussen is a blonde, correct?" Trap just grumbled. "Grrr." A dusting of powder on the tail. Tidytail squeaked on and on. 2 hours later, he was finished with the fur. Next, it was time for makeup. Tidytail pulled out a pair of long tweezers. "First, we must pluck these eyebrows," he insisted, leaning over Trap. He looked like a mad rat surgeon operating on a patient. My cousin was out of his chair in a flash. "Don't touch me!" he squeaked, but Tidytail had already finished. He pulled out a blush brush and stroked Trap's cheeks. While he worked, he kept checking out a picture taped to his wall. It was a photo of Sally Rasmussen. "Let's see. We need false eyelashes," he mumbled. "Then the lipstick and nail polish. And of course, a dusting of the finest powder on the tail." After that, he gave Trap a pair of contact lenses. They were the exact color of Sally's eyes, ice blue. Then he sprayed Trap with some perfume. Finally, he called the fancy dress shop where Sally bought all of her clothes. He ordered an outfit for my cousin. When it arrived, Tidytail whisked Trap away to a back room. Minutes later, Timothy called us in. "Come and see. He is a work of art," he squeaked proudly. I couldn't believe my eyes. My cousin was a work of art. A work of art named Sally Rasmussen. I'll show you the picture. See the before and the after? Crazy. "Your bill, sir." Trap stood up. He studied himself in the mirror. "Do I really look like her?" he asked. Tidytail clapped his paws. "You look exactly like her. Maybe even better. Much more glamorous, more attractive, more charming." Trap shot him a puzzled look. Tidytail didn't seem to notice. He was too busy printing out the bill. When he was done, he slapped it into my paw. I stared at the total. I felt faint. My paws began to shake. My tail began to twitch. I had to sit down in a pink chair to keep from falling. I had never seen such a bill. A fur cut cost more than 6 months' worth of cheddar. A massage cost more than my entire set of Encyclopedia Britannica. I started to complain, but Thea cut me off. I guess she could tell I was in shock. "Don't you dare embarrass me," she hissed. "Fur for Life is the most expensive salon in the city. It's worth every penny. Just pay the bill, Geronimo, and don't forget the tip." I handed over a wad of money. I couldn't believe I was doing it. I could have bought a new car with all of that money. Instead, I had bought my cousin a new look. He wasn't even happy about it. He stepped on my tail on the way out the door. Tears rolled down my fur. I didn't know if I was crying because of the pain or because my wallet was empty. Outside, a well-dressed female mouse waved to Trap. "Sally, dear," she called, "we must do lunch soon again. How does next week sound?" My cousin opened his mouth to reply. Luckily, Thea stopped him in time. Miss Rasmussen has lost her voice," she mumbled. Yes, she has a terrible sore throat. She'll have to get back to you." The mouse stared at Trap, closely. Did she notice anything different? Quickly, we shoved Trap into a taxi and drove him home. That night on television, Sally's snout appeared on the news. She was being interviewed by the famous reporter Bill Blabberat, Jr. "Tell me, Miss Rasmussen," he began, "how does it feel to be the most important publisher on Mouse Island?" Sally had a smug look on her face. She ripped the microphone out of Bill's paws. "It feels great," she squeaked. "I am great." Blabberat didn't know what to make of it. Yes, well, why do you think Mr. Stilton sold you his paper at such a low price?" he continued. Sally jumped up. "Because Geronimo Stilton is a cheesehead," she shrieked, "and I am not. I am smart, I am sharp, I am the most clever mouse in New Mouse City." Bill Blabberat Jr. coughed. He stared down at his notes. Sally Rasmussen may have been clever, but she was also crazy. When Blabberat said the Daily Rat wasn't as polished as the Rodents Gazette, Sally blew her top. She grabbed the Mouse TV reporter by the shirt. Then she shook him until his eyes rattled. "Help!" he shrieked. I couldn't watch anymore. I just switched off the set. I had to get my paper back before that rotten mousin ruined it all.